the Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 82 of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Yes, we had a little bit of a slight break, but we are back in full swing this October month, and we are pushing for episode 100. As much as this is episode 82, overall the podcast has released 90 episodes with the other small breakout sessions that I've done. So I'm really excited that we are on the way to episode 100. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. Now, anyway, before we get there, we have to go through today's episode. Always a reminder, though, that if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Root of the Science Pod on Twitter and Instagram, as well as there is a Facebook page. So for today's episode, my guest is Sandiso Ngwenya. She was born and raised in Zimbabwe and now resides in South Africa. In this episode, we discuss how her other interests contribute to her being more than just a scientist. Sandiso describes her love of beauty, particularly makeup, and we talk about the stereotypes of female scientists, of how female scientists are supposed to look like, and how the new age female scientists, such as herself, are changing that. We then talk about how she ended up in the field of chemistry by chance, how this academic journey helped her get to where she is currently. She is a PhD student in chemistry at the Nelson Mandela University in South Africa. She has excelled in her field. Currently, her research is focused on the synthesis of important antioxidants that provide new possibilities for the treatment and prevention of UV-mediated disease. Join in as we hear about this research, the root of her science, and so much more. Let's go. Hi, Sandy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you. Long overdue, so long overdue, but I'm so glad that we are finally here.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yes. So, Sandy, please may you just give us a brief introduction. Who is Sandy? Where are you currently based? Where are you originally from? And just short and sweet, what are you currently doing?
So my name is Sandiso Ngwenya, and originally I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. That's where I did much of my primary schooling, and high school I finished off in Zambia. And I've been based in South Africa since 2014. Yeah, I started off doing my undergraduate in UKZN, and now I'm based in Nelson Mandela University. I'm doing my PhD in chemistry.
Lovely. Oh, wow. So you had a nice mix of the Southern Africa side, of Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Africa. So that's really cool. Okay, so before we get into the science, I think it's really important for us to know who you are away from being this chemistry student, right? And away from the sciences, you are actually really into makeup. You are a makeup artist and, a former influencer. You love to cook, traveling. So can you explain why those different aspects of you are really important for you, in being more than just a scientist?
Firstly, with traveling, I feel from a young age, we used to travel. My dad worked in different cities. I remember when I was young, he worked in Victoria Falls. So Victoria Falls was 5 hours away from my original birth city. So we'd visit there, and then he moved to another city and would visit. And just generally, my dad used to travel a lot from what I recall. And I just knew that I loved traveling. I loved exploring different cultures. There's a lot to learn in the world, and I didn't want to limit the knowledge that I have of the world. So I just knew that I wanted to travel and explore. And with makeup, I really love beauty, luxury, just looking pretty. I I enjoy that so much.
Yes.
If I could have a full-time job of just dressing up and looking pretty. But yeah, and it was also like a good outlet, you know. I needed something outside school, you know. I needed something creative, you know, and school can be very hectic. And if you don't have like a healthy outlet or like hobbies or anything that you do outside school, it really gets frustrating. Yeah. And with cooking, I think I just love food. I really love food. And I think it also comes from like traveling. So like obviously when you travel to different places, you get to like eat different kinds of food and like different recipes and everything. So like I was really interested in tasting different foods and like trying out different recipes away from the norm I grew up in, you know. So yeah. And cooking, you know, there's this joke in chemistry that cooking is just chemistry, but chemistry. So yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, okay, great. So so we should expect chemists to be really good cooks, like ideally, right?
I'm not saying all chemists are good cooks, but I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe let's say, to be fair, it depends on the type of chemistry that you do. Like, let's, maybe depending on the type of chemistry that you do, then,
Yeah. And for someone like me who's doing like organic synthesis, it's basically me making something. It's cooking.
Following a recipe, but you call it a protocol or something. Hey.
Yeah. So
you see?
Rules apply in like cooking normal food. You know, you follow a recipe, you follow instructions, and in chemistry, you follow journals and other published literature, what's out there, and you basically have a guide. So it kind of feels similar in a way.
Yeah, no, I think that's such a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think you might like one thing and you think it doesn't relate with what you're doing. But hey, look at it now. Like if we really, like you said, that if we look really closely, there's that nice balance. And also you mentioned something really important that I just wanted to touch on about how you said that for you, for example, makeup and being creative and dressing up and looking pretty. First of all, I love that because there's this whole stereotypes that scientists are like, they don't really care about their appearance. So thank you for that, actually.
I think I also like in my undergraduate years. So when I was the first year, I was just like, I need to look like a scientist. If I start dressing up and putting on my makeup, I was so scared of like people talking like, oh my God, all she focuses on is makeup. She's going to fail, priorities and everything. There was always that stereotype. But as time progressed, I was just like, no, I need to break out of this shell. And as vain as this sounds, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes the way you look affects how you perform and your confidence and everything. So I was like, there's no point in me killing my self-confidence. And it's generally how I feel about myself, all in the name of being scared of what others are going to say. So I was just like, let me start dressing up, boosting my self-confidence and looking good. And I did, and I still performed as I was expected to. So I was like, there's really no correlation between how a scientist is expected to look and how they perform. And
shockingly.
So I really did that for myself and for my self-confidence.
No, I love that. I love that you are beating out of that stereotype. And even I've had conversations with other females who are like, hey, I'm going to do my makeup. I'm going to do my nails. I'm going to do whatever because that's what makes me feel good. And when I feel good, I'm able to perform better. So just because I'm putting on lipstick doesn't mean that I'm now like an A oh, let me not say it. Like, I don't know anything. Like, suddenly my science, my knowledge disappears. So that's really, really important. I think that's a whole nother conversation. And I love how, us as the younger generation are coming in and we're saying, nope, we're going to fight that norm. We're going to look cute. We're going to wear your heels. It's just a pity now with like the masks. It's a bit irritating. But yeah. So it's really great. No, I really love them. That's really important. So, Sandy, in the beginning, you spoke about how you grew up in Zim and then also you went to Zambia. So as we then backtrack to the beginning, the genesis of who you are, I would like us to then understand, how did you get into science? Was it always something that you always wanted to do, let's say specifically chemistry, or was it one of those things that just sort of, happened?
It sort of happened. So I was the type of, generally I was really good. I was good at school and I was like performing well across the board. And I think I wasn't really focused on what I wanted to do like after high school and everything, because in a way, my mom was gravitating towards me doing medicine. And so I just had this idea of, after high school, it's medicine. And yeah, but unfortunately, I couldn't get into the medical schools here in South Africa. So my sister then applied on my behalf at GKZN for chemistry. So the idea was to start in chemistry and then after first year transfer probably into, if I can't make it into the medical school, I'll transfer into pharmacy. Yeah. But when I registered for chemistry, I was just like, I'm comfortable here. It makes sense and I'm good in chemistry. Let me just continue with this. And I think the whole transferring thing, it was just going to be too much. There was just so much involved. And I was just like, no, I'm comfortable here. It's fine. I'm going to continue. And I explored my options from there. I was like, okay, what fields of chemistry are there other than just the chemistry I was doing then? And that's how I even ended up here at Nelson Mandela, because I remember I actually found out that you could be a cosmetic chemist. So when I was researching, so when I was doing my research on how to become a cosmetic chemist, at the time, NMU had this program, formulation science. So I applied for that here. And for my honors project, I focused on cosmetics. I was making like a face cream or something. Yeah. But I couldn't take that further than I did. So I reverted back to like organic chemistry. And I think I do enjoy this. Now I'm focusing on like drug synthesis and it's quite interesting. Yeah, so that's how I basically found myself where I am now. The plan has been constantly changing.
We're going to get into what you do just now, but I think it's really important that, you sort of adapted each time. It just sounds like you just kept on adapting to, dare I say, sort of the curveballs that were being thrown at you. I mean, you had a plan. And I think with most of us, we sort of panic when you have this plan and then life sort of like, no, that's not going to work, and then and then you have to take another thing. So it's quite interesting that for you sort of adapted. So was that adaptation easy? Was it easy for you to, because as much as we say that you weren't able to get into being a doctor, was it easy for you to accept, or were you like, I'm devastated, I had this dream of a white coat? Well, you are wearing a white coat, but for different things. But like, that shift when your dreams, be it you wanting to be a cosmetic chemist, all of these things, when that vision of yours sort of derailed, how did you sort of deal with that I don't want to say as a disappointment or that, that word, I don't know what word it is, but that, that feeling that comes with it?
I think I've always, like, yes, disappointment was there. But I think initially for medicine, I really wasn't as disappointed. I was just like, did I really want to do medicine? Like, when I looked at the actual medical course and the things that you have to do, first of all, I'm scared of needles. Like, it was a mission for me to get vaccinated. So now I was just like, had I become a medical doctor, probably a surgeon or anything, was I going to be able to handle surgical procedures? And I was just like, no, that's, in as much as medicine seemed like a good idea, it really wasn't, because I don't think I'm built for that. So I don't think I was disappointed with that. When it comes to like cosmetics and everything, I was just like, at the time I had already like started doing like makeup. I had a YouTube channel. I had like clients I would do makeup. So I was already working in that field, even though it wasn't in the scientific part of it. But the fact that I was already in it, I was just like, okay, fine. It's not science, but it's something. And it's quite nice, the creative side of it. And yeah, I don't think I took it as hard as I should have, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's good. I think it maybe might just say that your type of personality, just you don't like wallow in it too much. So you are like, okay, let's keep on moving, which is a really good trait. I mean,
yeah,
some of us.
It's something. It's something my mom taught me from like a young age. Like I used to speak to my mother a lot, and my mother was just like, life happens and you're the only constant in your life. So if you always if you're easily put down and you stay down for so long, life will move. And by the time you decide, okay, I'm rejoining life, like so many things have changed. And it's not to say that don't allow yourself downtime to like grieve stuff or whatever, but balance in a way. Give yourself downtime and be like, okay, this happened, but then let's figure out a plan to keep it moving. Yeah,
let's go. And you're right, life just continues, which is shocking, because you're like, hey, I want it all to stop while I'm being sad and feeling my feelings, but unfortunately life does go on. So yes, so life moved on for you, like you said, even though the dream did not happen. Okay, so currently for your PhD, you're working on the synthesis of coumarins and flavones, important antioxidants from natural sources that provide new possibilities for the treatment and prevention of UV-mediated diseases. And you're using some new technology to called continuous flow chemistry. Okay, so this is a lot. Even for me, it was a bit of a mouthful. So can you please just give us like an overview of what this is all about, and also just in saying that how you actually got involved in all of this?
Okay, so basically continuous flow chemistry is based using microreactors with channels within the reactors to like do reactions. So traditionally in chemistry, we do reactions in round bottom flasks, like you basically chuck in all your reagents, stir for like however long you want to stir, and then you get your product. But then with this kind of technology, you use either tubing or microreactors, and you pump your reagents, you optimum conditions, temperature, time, and you collect your product. And the advantage to this is the reactors are quite small, like you work in the micro range. So you don't use a lot of reagents, you don't take a lot of time. And yeah, it's quite, I don't want to say it's quite easy to use, but it's different from your traditional chemistry that's quite known right now. And basically, with my specific project, in drug synthesis, certain reagents are extracted from natural plants, and then they are further functionalized to give like your final products, drugs that are then sold in market. But then the problem with working with natural products, there's a lot of compounds in natural products, and sometimes when you're extracting whatever compound you need from the natural product, they come in different compositions. You don't always have a fixed composition. So the whole idea is to find a synthetic route that can enable us to synthesize those compounds that are found in natural products, and they can be readily available in the market. Say a drug is needed and there's readily available starting material already synthesized, instead of relying solely on plants. Yeah.
Wow, this is so interesting, and it sounds fascinating. It sounds cool, but what are some of the challenges that you've had in terms of your research? Because it sounds very new, like you said, new type of tech. So, yeah, can you talk about that if you don't mind?
Definitely, research has challenges. Hey, and I think I had to learn, because I only learned about this technology when I joined my research group for my master's, and I was basically learning and going at the same time. So it was quite a bit of a challenge, but I think I'm a fast learner and I adapted, and yeah, I got it. And I think aside from the chemistry itself, obviously, like the stress of research,
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just stuck, you can't move, and you're just repeating the same experiment 5 times over or even more, and you're still not getting anywhere. And chemistry.
Yeah, the lab work. Somebody said to me that the only nice thing about doing a PhD is saying that you're doing a PhD.
Oh, definitely.
So I like how you've brought up the topic about how, there are some struggles, the repetition of, lab work and it also all of that stuff that comes with learning a new technique and getting into a new lab where they use something totally different. And you, like you said, you kind of have to learn as you go, which is difficult, which is really, really difficult. And, academia has become a bit more open, talking about some of these tolls and how academia can take a mental toll on a person's life. And you actually opened up and you said that for you, you actually go to therapy. So for you, how has this helped you in terms of your academic life, just going to see someone and talking about it?
I think for me, generally, like talking is very therapeutic for me, because in talking, I sort of like, it's a way for me to map out what's in my head, and it's a thought process. It helps me analyze my thoughts. Like sometimes you have all those thoughts in your head and you don't know what's what, but then immediately you start speaking about it or writing about it, it becomes easier. So basically for me, when I'm experiencing phases of being overwhelmed, like being stuck or anything, I find that I really need to speak to someone. And in me speaking, I can slow myself down as well, because sometimes I tend to get too anxious and I just go into like overdrive and I just want to do things, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm working, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not getting results and I'm getting frustrated and I'm just like, this is not making sense. So I find that when I go and have my sessions and actually speak about what's happening, it's a good thought process for me, because then I can sort of categorize what's going on in my head and, sort of have a plan on how to deal with all the challenges that I'm facing. Yeah.
This is, that's really, really great. I mean, sometimes, there used to be that sort of like, oh, you go to therapy, what? But I really love how we've become more open. And I think sometimes you generally just need somebody who is a bit not associated with your life to just tell you some things. Like, because sometimes we say we can speak to your friends or your colleagues, but they will always have that little bit of bias because they know you, or they are part of the problem or the situation. So it's really good that we are doing, you are able to talk to someone. And academia is post-grad, my word.
And I feel like the one thing that's actually good about therapy, and therapists will always look at things objectively, because they are so far removed from your life, your situations, and they're so objective. And that's the one thing that I figured I needed in my life. Like, yes, I speak to my friends, I speak to my family, but those are people in your corner, and they'll always like, I don't know, they'll always like cushion you and like comfort you. And yes, they'll give you hard truths here and there. They'll try help you here and there. But then sometimes there's just that thing of, I need someone who's not in my life, who looks at things objectively for me, and who like help me see things from a different light other than what I'm already seeing around me. And it's very helpful.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And, and I hope for somebody who's listening, who has been thinking about, going to therapy or talking to somebody and they're a bit on the fence, this conversation can sort of, motivate or highlight the need for them to do that. And, as we wrap up, I think it's always really cool. We mentioned about your journey, your academic journey, and also your personal journey that we've touched on now. Just ideally in the future, you spoke about how you've got this love for makeup, and you wanted to dabble into, probably the cosmetic side. Where would you see yourself post PhD? Do you want to stay in academia, or you like to get into industry? Like, ideally, what is, in a perfect world, what is the plan for you?
In a perfect world, I would definitely love to do post PhD. I would definitely love to do R&D for those big cosmetic giants, your L'Oreal Paris, your Johnson and Johnson, and I really feel like Unilever is also an option as well. I really feel like there's a lot I could learn from those companies, and I enjoy research, and I think I would love to experience research outside of academia. Academia is great, and I think industry experience would also be nice to have, like, on your CV, and broaden your horizons, see what else is out there. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And I think it also just goes to show that you can apply these degrees that you've learned into various different things. It's not just for staying in academia, that there are people, like you said, all of these big pharmaceutical giants who are looking for people who can, for the research and development side of cosmetics or other drugs or whatever. So this just goes to show that there is a diversity and there's a need for chemists, and it's not just sitting in the lab. Well, you would be in a lab, of course, but like you said, you want to experience the research outside of academia, which is really, really cool. Yeah. So, as this has been such a great conversation, And I just wanted to ask you for your little golden nuggets, for somebody who's listening and is like, whoa, Sandy, you're so cool. I want to be, I want to be like how you've been. So what are some little words of wisdom or advice about getting into science or just in life?
Of like being in science and STEM as a whole, I think it's good to know like what you want, and things change. Nothing is like static, and you need to be able to adapt and like make a plan, think on your feet. And downtime is good, like in as much as being productive in codes is a good thing, but also downtime is also being productive because you're giving yourself time to rest, recharge, think properly, and get back in the game. And science is not as like hard as people may seem to think it is. I think it's more about applying yourself. So yeah, I think that's my little nugget of wisdom.
Yeah, no, I hear you about what you said about advice, because sometimes we think, oh no, the team, like if somebody gives you advice, it means that they have it all together and, their life is together. But I also think sometimes advice comes in another form of way of like, yo, I've seen it and it didn't work for me. So if you don't, let me tell you what I wish somebody had told me so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made it. Yeah. So like you said, like how you spoke about downtime, you've experienced it and like, hey, it's important, it's important. And and it's been so lovely chatting with you. I had so much fun. And just before we wrap up, if people want to get hold of you on your social medias, how can they get hold of you? I'm going to put it on the socials, but just for you to shout yourself out.
On Twitter, it's Sandiso_N. And on Instagram, it's Sandiso_N. And yeah, that's all the social media I have. I'm yet to revive my YouTube channel. I'm thinking about that on how I'm going to come back. Yeah. But I think meantime, people can subscribe.
Okay.
Sandiso.
What is it?
Yeah.
What is your YouTube channel?
Sandiso Ngwenya.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
My full name. Yeah.
Okay, so you heard it, folks. If you want to catch her, I'm also going to link these sites in the episode description box, so people can definitely check that out. But once again, Sandy, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story. It was really, really good.
Thank you for allowing me to share. And yeah, I appreciate it.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. And to everybody else who's listening, thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Until next time, goodbye.